Since the last cyber attack, we have learned that weak points in cybersecurity can have important impacts, and the existing paradigms are not sufficient. But digitalization is here. Since 1970, we've seen automation in production processes, and today we have data flows in the cloud, scaling in the cloud, high computing capacities, and now production is faced with similar challenges as IT did 10 years ago. And how can we deal with the industrial Internet of Things, with faster software and hardware cycles, more and more connections, and so complexity increases, and also the area of attack. But many OT cybersecurity tools are just retrofitted. Sometimes they are just implemented, and IT playbooks are not relevant for OT. Patching is a good example. IT cannot just implement a patch so easily in a factory. And for the IT security, we have to define protection objectives. CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These are the goals, the objectives that have to be met. And this is also the hierarchy. But OT security places availability in the forefront. And this is why we have to match these requirements of IT and OT. And this is why we use SpyDR from hidden objects to answer the question whether your company with the shop floor is actually secure, if there are no traces, and the current security tools just rely on post-breach detection. In production, there is no downtime tolerance. And recently, renowned players were in the focus. There were these ransomware gangs, and they profited from this no downtime tolerance. But we help you to prepare and to prevent these attacks. In the first phase of a cyber attack, the attacker tries to access your system and without being detected. And Patrick will show you how this works.
Dankeschön, Nathalie.
Thank you, Nathalie.
We all
can be a target of an attack. A former director of the FBI said there are only two types of companies. Those that have been hacked and those that will be hacked. In other words, sooner or later we will all be hacked. Could be your company or your company or mine.
Aber welchen Bedrohungen sind wir überhaupt ausgesetzt?
What kind of attacks or threats are we faced with? We have to distinguish between two different scenarios. First of all,
die allseits bekannte Ransomware-Attacke.
The ransomware attack, well known. Here the data is encrypted, the devices are encrypted and cannot be used anymore. You will be blackmailed and you get this nice-looking screen.
Yeah, sorry.
Ich leg das mal dahin. Der Ihnen anzeigt, dass Sie
that shows you that you have become the victim of a cyber attack. And in this moment, this is really a catastrophe for you.
Stillstand Ihrer Firma.
So your company is at a standstill.
Alles ganz schnell ging.
And it seems that it's really fast and that it has happened quickly, but actually a lot of time has elapsed. On day 0, the attacker tries to access the system, and then the threat expands. The attacker looks for weak points in your system, devices without protection, and so the attacker positions himself and then attacks, actually, without mercy. Second scenario is data espionage. What it is about. Here the attackers try to steal your secrets, your important company data, somehow,
geldbringend wieder zu verwerten.
and to sell these data.
Charakteristisch für dieses Szenario ist, dass die
What is
Angreifer hier
characteristic for this
versuchen, so lange als
scenario?
möglich
Here,
unentdeckt zu
the
bleiben.
attackers try to be undetected for as long as possible.
Können sie weitere
As long
Daten
as they are
abgreifen.
in your
Eine
environment,
Studie
they can
besagt,
steal more data.
dass
And
bis zu,
according to a
durchschnittlich
study,
280 Tage vergehen, bis so ein Angreifer entdeckt wird.
280 days
Und unsere
elapse
Praxiserfahrung
before
zeigt,
this attack is
dass es in
actually
Einzelfällen
identified.
durchaus deutlich länger
And
sein kann,
according
bis
to
hin zu
our
Jahren, bis diese
experience, it can
Angreifer
even
tatsächlich
take more
gefunden werden.
time, years sometimes, before the attackers are
Beide
found.
Szenarien haben aber
So
eine
both
Gemeinsamkeit, wenn auch
scenarios
in
have one
unterschiedlicher
thing in
Ausprägung.
common with some differences.
Und das ist der Faktor Zeit.
And here the factor
Zeit ist hier unser
time
Freund
is
und Feind
essential,
zugleich.
because here
Unser Feind ist
time is our friend and our enemy.
Weil mit jedem Tag, der vergeht, wird das Bedrohungspotenzial
With
für sie
each
größer.
day that
Unser Freund ist die Zeit aber.
passes, the risk
Einfach, weil
potential
wir sie haben.
increases.
Und durch
But
die Zeit
we
können wir
have
reagieren.
time, and so
Und
we
deswegen ist
can
mein Appell hier an
react.
Sie,
So this
nutzen Sie
is why
diese
I would
Zeit,
like to ask you to actually
bevor der
benefit from
Angreifer
this
Ihnen Schaden
time
zufügen
period
kann.
before you have any damage.
Warten Sie also nicht auf den
So
schlimmsten
don't
Fall.
wait until
Werden Sie
the
selbst
worst
aktiv
scenario
und unterziehen
occurs.
Sie alle Ihre
Become
Systeme einem
active
effizienten
and
Security-Test.
test all your systems.
Verschaffen Sie
Carry
sich
out an
Transparenz
efficient
über die Risikolage in
security
Ihrer
test
IT- und
and try to
OT-Umgebung.
get some transparency regarding
Identifizieren Sie die
security in
Angreifer,
IT and OT. Identify the
die verborgen
attackers.
arbeiten. Und Ziel
And
dieses Vorgehensmodells
what
ist
is
es
the
letztlich,
objective of this
die Zeit
approach?
bis zur Entdeckung auf
It's
ein Minimum zu
important to
reduzieren.
actually reduce
dem Motto,
this time to a
erkannt,
minimum to
Gefahr
detect the
gebannt.
risk as soon as possible. Because as soon as the threat is recognized, the problem is solved.
Hopp. Nathalie ist vorhin schon ein bisschen auf die OT-Umgebungen eingegangen.
Natalie talked about the OT
mich sind
environment before. For me,
vergleichbar mit einem
OT
gerade
environments
fliegenden
are
Flugzeug.
comparable to a flying plane.
Es muss immer laufen.
Because the engines have to run, and we don't want any disorders. And if something happens, it's immediately very critical.
Maßnahmen, die man ergreifen muss, sind wie eine
Measures have to be
Operation am offenen
taken.
Herzen.
It's like a surgery, the
deswegen
open
erfordern
heart.
OT-Umgebungen
And this
eine
is
Lösung,
why OT
die genau diese
environments
speziellen Anforderungen
require
berücksichtigt.
solutions that take into
Lösung,
account
die
these
ihre Systeme
requirements.
nicht modifiziert.
Solutions that do not
Und zur
modify your
Laufzeit
systems
nur einen minimalen, quasi nicht
with a
merkbaren
very
Footprint hinterlässt.
reduced downtime and
SpyDR
no
ist diese
footprint if possible. SpyDR is such a
ist eine
solution.
neuartige
SpyDR
Security-Lösung,
is a new
die genau
security
dieses Gefühl,
solutions
die der
that
Markt
bridges
derzeit
this
nicht abdecken
gap,
kann.
a gap that cannot be actually covered by the market
Schwerpunktanalysen,
currently.
die ohne Agent abläuft,
So
sind
an
dabei
analysis without an
die
agent,
Frameworks der großen international agierenden Hackergruppen,
we
ein paar zu nennen,
address
Cobalt
also
Strike,
the
Metasploit,
frameworks
etc.
of the attacker groups, focus on the attacker traces.
Okay. Wie funktioniert SpyDR in der Praxis?
How does it work in
Wir
practice?
nutzen native Active Directory Methoden,
We use native Active Directory methods to implement SpyDR on all devices.
alle ihre Clients,
It
alle
means
ihre
all
Server
clients, all the
und
servers,
auch alle ihre Domain-Controller.
and all the domain controllers.
Während SpyDR läuft, untersucht es verschiedenste Daten.
SpyDR is running
Eventlogs, um
and
historische Daten noch abzugreifen, also
checks
Dinge, die
everything,
in der
event
Vergangenheit
logs, things that happened in the
zählen
past,
Schedule Tasks,
scheduled
Services,
tasks, services,
alles, wo Angreifer
everything.
Spuren hinterlassen.
Practically and everywhere where the attackers leave some marks and traces. In the end, all the findings are bundled and via DNS transferred to a SpyDR appliance.
Namensauflösungsprotokoll.
Why DNS? It's a
Aber DNS ist auch ein
protocol,
Standardprotokoll,
but it's a
das überall
standard protocol that is used everywhere, it works everywhere, it's always available. And this is why it's really ideal for us, and especially in OT environments, it's good to have this protocol to gather the relevant data.
nimmt die Datenpakete entgegen,
The SpyDR appliance gathers the data and converts it in readable formats and stores the data in the database. And this is how we can have access to the data for further evaluation.
wem das vielleicht ein bisschen zu fancy erscheint,
You might think that this is a little bit too fancy, I don't know.
sei gesagt, das ist eine Variante.
This is just one variant, one possible variant for data transfer. Further variants are also possible depending on the use case scenario. You could also get the data on as in a CSV format and retrieve the data differently.
Lassen Sie uns ein bisschen über die Darstellung der Daten sprechen.
Let's have a look at this display. SpyDR focuses on Grafana, an innovative open source system. It's a leading solution for this kind of display, very performant and flexible, and can be easily adapted with a few mouse clicks. So we just use 4 different dashboards that can be deployed immediately. They have been developed based on the experience of an incident response team, and I can assure you that you will actually love these dashboards, because on the dashboard you can see all the critical information, you can see it at one glance, you can filter, you can group information, you can search for items and so on, do everything. And Grafana and SpyDR, they match very well, and Log4j showed this really. You know, the Log4j scenario, when this came up, hundreds of individual solutions were created. And some people even couldn't find a solution at all. For us, it was a challenge that we could meet rapidly, or we needed a further component in order to gather data, and we developed this dashboard to show the threats in different categories. And the message is clear. It's a framework that can be adapted very quickly to all the different situations.
Lassen Sie uns noch mal die Key Features.
Let's have a look at the key features of SpyDR. SpyDR does not need an agent on your devices, and this is a major difference. This is how it stands out. You don't have to roll out an agent, so no classical rollout. This means that you don't have to have discussions with the software packaging, with managers, firewall experts. You can use this directly. And as no changes of the systems are needed, you don't have to discuss anything with the system owners. And for OT, this is essential because there are actually no barriers. You can use SpyDR very quickly. Feature number 2, you don't need any prerequisites. Just think back of this picture of this schematic diagram, Active Directory. It's always available. Everybody uses it. We use DNS as an transfer protocol. You also have it. It's there. And the only component that you need, that's the SpyDR appliance, but it's not a must. There are also other data routes. Then feature number 3, it's the speed. The factor time is really very important. So this is a decisive criterion. For me, speed is the top feature, and I'm always very surprised to see how fast we can create the setup. Normally just 1 hour, and you can see how the data actually arrive from all the clients. There is no gap.
Feature number 4.
Feature number 4. And here I must say that I'm a bit old school because we don't need the cloud. And this is done on purpose. There are some scenarios also in OT where data don't have to be transferred to the USA. Well, the data remain on your premises. It's a full on-premises solution. And last but not least, feature number 5, it's completely developed in Germany. Not only security experts are involved, but also other experts, Active Directory experts, cybersecurity experts, client experts, and so on. They are all part of the team. Now let's talk about possible applications and use case scenarios. Scenario number 1, the most important one because of the factor time, the continuous execution. You can run this regularly so that the time intervals are short and the attackers have no chance. Second scenario.
Firmenakquisition.
Company acquisitions and mergers. In this case, 100 topics have to be taken into account, and IT security is just one of them and is sometimes a bit neglected.
Am Tag X, wenn die Netzwerke
This is why on day X, when the networks are connected, SpyDR can be the ideal solution to carry out a fast security check. Then post-breach cleanup. I hope that you don't have to do that, but if this happens and some systems are compromised, you're faced with a challenge because you have to clean up, first analyze all your systems after a breach. You need a scoping that has to be scaled, and we have no limits with regard to scaling. And supplier auditing, that's another topic. And sometimes they don't know at all, or you don't know at all, what is going on at the suppliers, what the security situation is at the suppliers. And you can use SpyDR for the supplier auditing. And as there are no barriers, it's very practical and can easily be done. So you can see that the use case scenarios vary a lot. You can use just one or all of them, ideally, but don't waste time.
Ganz im Gegensatz zum US-Botschafter, der 1945
the US ambassador in 1945 got a present in 1945. It's a kind of a carved replica of the Great Seal of the US, and this was in his office in the embassy, just used for eavesdropping. This shouldn't happen to you. There are digital traces after an attack, after a security incident, but we know what we have to search for. SpyDR is made for scaling in IT and OT with zero modification, zero delays, and zero impacts. It was developed in the enterprise environment with a lot of experience from different experts of this cybersecurity environment, together with Hidden Objects and MHP. We support the digitalization of your company to make it more secure and easy. You don't have to wait. You can talk to us. These are our contact details. And if you find this interesting, you can also get a sticker for your laptop if you want. Thank you very much.